Hi, my name is Florine, and I'm a developer.
And I'm Adrian, and I'm a designer.
And today we're going to talk about web fonts.
Woohoo!
But first,
oh,
you see this.
This thing. This looks like something you clean glassware with,
Yeah.
or window cleaners,
Yeah.
or oven cleaner.
Yeah. I just when I opened it, I smelt it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, but
I actually took a picture of you as you smelt it.
okay.
You look like this.
Okay, let's try. Yeah.
I can't get any worse
No,
than that.
no, let's just try it.
Let's just try it. Where'd you get this anyway?
My wife, she went to the US, and I asked her if she could look for cool sodas, and then she brought. This is one of them.
Oh,
she
the
brought.
smell is
is ghastly. I mean,
well, I guess
cheers.
here goes nothing. I guess. Okay, it's not as foul as it smelled.
Yeah, but your teeth they glue together. But
Yeah. Well,
this is definitely designer is definitely not about soda. So
well, I mean, this is a well-designed soda, and as someone who has sampled glass cleaner, not bad, not bad.
okay, so
Yeah, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things on the web, and one of the most hated things on the web, I guess.
well, I guess from a performance standpoint, point of view, and from a developer's point of view, it's we hate web fonts.
You hate web fonts.
It's a bad
as a
idea.
designer, love web fonts. They make the web beautiful. I mean, that's like the one thing that we were. Super
Why can't you just make the web look good in Verdana or in Tahoma for all I care? But
Well, the thing with those fonts is that they're not really meant for the way that we use them today. I mean, they were made for like screens that were at best 600 pixels wide, which they were great for. But if you use like display cases or headings, the large X height, it kind of looks shit.
okay, fine. But so you're using web font, but why can't you just use one web font?
Yeah, that's an issue because we usually have larger type for say intros. In if you have like text, then you need a little larger size, and even then, even this marginal increase will make like this web safe fonts, as they call them, look a bit weird.
Okay,
So,
but do users actually care about web fonts? I mean,
I don't think so.
when I visit the website, I'd rather just have my text there instantly, of your text there instantly, because I was looking for something, so I just want to be able to read it, and I don't really care if it has nice washy letters or.
Well, I think fonts are a part of the experience of a website, but I do agree with you that users generally don't care for them much. In fact, even if they do like web fonts, I think they would object to using like 10 styles interchangeably, and that all have to be loaded.
But that's just okay. First of all, that's just probably bad
Yeah,
design.
going back.
But that's probably just bad design, right? I mean,
Well, if you were to use 10 styles, that would be bad design. But I mean, I have personally made websites that have used more than one web font.
yeah,
It has happened.
It adds up, of course, because people generally think of you use a font and then you have automatically you got the italic and the bold, but that's all separate files. They're all separate. Files.
Yeah, they all have to be loaded. So
Yeah, they all have to belong, and that's a performance issue.
Yeah. And that bugs the user because, frankly, I know very well that only designers go to other pages and look at how nice the type is. Because, frankly, users,
they don't really
care. They come for the content, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And everything else, I mean, that's gravy.
It's eye candy. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's...
Okay, so let's dig a bit into this performance problems or performance issue.
Yeah.
I mean, if you load, if you say you're going to use a system font, that's on your system and that's going to be available instantly. As soon as the page renders, it has that font. It doesn't need to load anything. If you are going to use a web font, it has to download that web font before it can show you text. Well, and there are some issues with that, right?
Yeah, well, one of the, more feared ones is, of course, the Flash of style text or the flat.
No. That's just a designer fear, or maybe a design-conscious client that's going, oh, but my website looks different. Looks like shit. For
Well, there
2
is an
seconds.
issue with that because if you change the font, it might cause jumping. So your page might rearrange itself.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that is annoying to users as well, not just,
Yeah, stuff
uppity
might
design.
reflow, and your browser may have to recalculate stuff as well. So that's a bit of a thing. So you got the flash of style text, but there are also browsers, and this is something I noticed on my iPhone, that when I load a website or a link from Twitter and I'm on a really crappy connection, or maybe not even on a crappy connection, I don't know, sometimes happens that I see a website that just shows me backgrounds, images, and no text.
Yeah, actually, I noticed this on the Engadget redesign. They recently, I think a month ago or so, they relaunched a new design for the site, which I actually quite like. I like the style that they chose and the things that they did with that. But on mobile connection, the font loading is for the headers. If you go to just engadget.com, for the headers, so you will be scrolling, pages and pages of just the header image and then a white space and some buttons on the side, I think, and that's it. So you don't know what an article is really about until the font is loaded.
Okay, that's really
so sucky. That's quite poor. I don't know if they fixed it in the meantime.
Yeah, but you call that the flash of invisible text.
Invisible text, yeah.
Or we came up with like that.
The wait for invisible text.
the wait for text to appear or something like that. So I think there are a couple of things we can do. I mean, one thing would be, and you're going to hate this one. Stop using web fonts. Use Arial, Verdana, Tahoma.
I agree with you that would probably be the safe way to go. On the other hand, I mean, you can't really give that toy to designers and they're just like, nah, you can't have it. I think there are sensible ways to use web fonts, because I do believe that web fonts do enhance your experience on a website if used correctly and not
absolutely
gone overboard. So I think just saying just don't use web fonts, that feels a bit like 1995 internet to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can put it in an image, right?
Oh my god, that is the worst.
Yeah. In what century did you grow up?
Yeah, exactly. And how are you going to responsify that?
You could make images of every letter.
Yeah. Oh no.
No. We're going back to right before there were web fonts. There was this SIFR. I think it's Sean Inman's font flash replacement or something called like that. And it would, with JavaScript, it would replace the element that you had text in with a little bit of flash that would contain the font. Because
you couldn't embed it in,
You could embed fonts into Flash.
Into Flash and not into CSS.
Yeah. So when we talk about this embedding, when you traditionally you would make an image for headings, or you would embed it into a Flash file, but
there are also accessibility issues with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you still have to load the image.
Yeah.
So.
But it's still okay, but you would have web fonts that would not break. And there's also a bit of a licensing issue, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, in a Flash file, in an image, you cannot decompile. Yeah, you can, of course, decompile it, but you cannot easily extract the font file again to use it for other things. That's a little bit of a thing with a web font. It's a web font, and I could copy your web font from your website and use it on my website.
You could, but that would definitely violate like the end user license agreement.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's one part. That's something you just like you shouldn't do, or just because it's illegal. But font foundries, they make it hard to embed fonts, and also I think a little bit clients don't understand why they have to pay in a very weird way for using a font on a website.
There are definitely issues with the licensing part of fonts, especially for the web, because usually, basically some of these foundries, they literally live in the 1980s. No, because most of their work was made in the 1980s or before. And so their ideas of what proper licensing for their fonts is based on how you would license it for print. And that's not really how the web works. I mean, we've seen this in workflows, that this is a problem if you just take something that used to work for print, or in this case, licensing was also a bit broken on print, in my opinion. And then we would get the same restrictions to use it for a web. And I mean, it's going to be very hard for me as a designer, for instance, to demo to a client, like, I want to convince my client to spend money on a font.
Okay, that's where it starts, right?
Yeah, that's where it starts. If I want them to spend money on it, I'm going to have to show them. But no, I don't have access to the files, therefore I can't actually show it to the client to sell it to them, which is a bit weird because I'm not going to buy it for myself. I mean, that would be
mean, very, very expensive.
Well, it would add up. I mean, it's not that expensive per weight.
But you probably want to do some experimenting as well. You want to try some
you
of
have
these
to test
fonts,
some of these things.
And you'd have to own all these fonts, or at least have a end user license.
You have a license for it.
To
I
work
mean,
with them.
there are ways around it. I mean, in the past, I have, for instance, set the type that I wanted for a heading and made a screenshot of it and used that as a demo.
Is that a bit of a gray area?
I don't know if it's a gray area or not, but even if it's just for me for testing,
to
see if it would work, that helps somewhat. I mean, there are people who just download the fonts somewhere, which is definitely illegal. But I'm actually happy to report that a Dutch outfit called Underwear, they make the beautiful Bellow script font. Okay. It's an amazing script font. They've actually started giving out sort of stripped out versions of their fonts to test with.
So they would not include the more advanced open type features and stuff like that?
There are basically no open type features. Some of the symbols are missing. I mean, basically it's just you have dots, commas,
lowercase,
numbers,
uppercase,
and lower. Yeah, exactly. So it's very compact. I don't know exactly what is included in these fonts, but I do think that's.
And you can use those for free, or do you have to pay?
They are strictly for testing and demoing. They are.
But you can use in that scenario you can use them for free.
Yes, but I can't put that in public anywhere.
No, of course.
So it's just as soon as you want to use them, you're going to have to buy a license, which I think is fair.
I always think that if someone has owned something or wants to sell you something, it's only fair that you pay them for services rendered or products bought.
And font making is a pain.
Yeah, I know.
As someone who has drawn fonts, oh good God.
Yeah.
I mean,
run
crying to mama.
That's a little bit about licensing. I don't think we should hang on licensing in this talk about this because I think it's more interesting.
Just like a sidestep.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting to talk about how we can. We talked about the issues with font loading.
Yeah.
And so for one strategy would be, of course, to stop using web fonts. That would solve licensing problems. It
would solve everything.
I think we go
done.
from now on. Yeah.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, but maybe maybe you're right. The website just does look a lot better if it has a nice font, some font variation. It also makes it more scannable in a lot of cases.
It has definite user benefits. It makes like the distinctions between headers and body copy better. It can lead people through the text, like you said, scannability. And some fonts are just easier to read. There are better fonts technically than Tahoma or Arial or Verdana.
Of course,
or whatever.
I agree completely. So let's look at things we could fix.
I actually like this.
I mean, it's very sweet, and I'm getting kind of a bit jumpy. So I hope you as a viewer, you see the energy we have here. So that's like, whoa!
Oh, we're totally hopped up.
Yeah.
Are you going to give this to your son to get them all like?
No, that's not.
That's not okay. I'm gonna do that later.
So we talked about the flash of unstyled text.
Yeah.
We up until now we don't really have control over. We don't know when the font is going to be loaded. So
you don't know when that jump or whatever is going to occur.
Will occur.
Actually, I'd be very interested to know how do developers fix these issues? Like, how do you go about?
I was just about going into that because there is now there are APIs the font loading API. I'm not sure about its support, but there are also other ways in where you load the font through JavaScript, and then you will embed it into CSS when it's loaded, so you have some control there.
Okay.
And one thing you can do is, okay, you're still going, because you want to have the content with your user as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So you're going to start with Arial, Verdana, whatever.
Yeah, the unstyled text,
Yeah.
basically.
But then once the web font is loaded, you're going to replace that with the loaded web font.
Yeah.
But then we talked about, okay, but then you get the jump, and maybe your page will look totally different because the elements move. There's a solution for that, and that is kind of what you do is you match as good as possible when you use a standard web font, a web safe font, to the heights and letter spacings and line heights, etc., etc.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work to the actual font you're going to load.
Use. So
you
the
minimize,
jumping will be in the
yeah,
middle.
you minimize the jump, and you don't have any big jumps, just maybe a little bit, a couple of pixels or something like that.
There is an issue with that, though. If you do that, your web safe font might look very shit.
Yeah, but it's still legible.
It's legible, and it loads,
usable.
and it won't jump your page. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a trade-off.
It is a trade-off. Another thing you could do is, first page view, you will just show a standard web font.
Yeah.
As a safe web font. But in the background, you're going to load the font, and that you're going to, obviously that's something you're going to do, the last thing you do when you load the page.
Yeah.
First, you're going to load all your images, CSS, etc., JavaScript, etc.
Even after the ads?
Yeah, I don't know. So what you're going to do, you're going to put them in a cache, like because in web browsers you don't have really control over cache. I guess you could do something with service workers here, but if you want to have a more widely support, you're going to put it in local storage, and that just means you load it, you put it in local storage, and you just leave it there. But on the next page load, you can
so
check.
You click through.
So sometimes the user clicks to the next page. Maybe refresh the page for whatever reason because he wants to see your web font.
Does it also work if you were to come back?
Yeah,
later?
yeah, because local storage is somewhat persistent. I mean, the user has to clear it, or your space might run out. But you have quite a lot of space for in local storage. So it will also, if you a month from now you will go there, you will still see it.
Okay,
even if you have cleared the cache, because clearing cache is not the same as local storage. So.
We'll learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I guess.
So and on the next page, you're the first things you're going to do very early on. You're going to check, hey, do we have it in local storage? That's going to be a very fast operation because it's local and you don't need a network. It's still asynchronous, but it's quite fast. So, and then you say, okay, but would we have it? So we're going to replace it, and the user won't see the standard web font anymore. It will see your custom web font.
Yeah.
Right away.
I think that's actually a great strategy, especially if you use it like single weights of fonts. For instance, if you have just one font weight for, say, headers.
Well, funny thing that you mentioned it as a good strategy. We just recently implemented it for a client, and we talked about this with them, and they said, okay, and we even made examples of pages, what they would look like with Arial, etc., etc. And when they put it on their test site, and they were still saying, it looks totally different.
It looks less good.
Yeah, it looks good. So, I guess it's a trade-off. There's another thing you could do. You could subset your font. I mean, one of the issues is that especially for international sites, you're going to need a whole UTF character set, and that's going to be
Cyrillic
Cyrillic, all kinds of different characters, maybe Japanese, etc., etc. So you could, of course, subset it. There is the you can say, okay, in this font, you can split the font in different files. And then you say, okay, I'm going to load this for this Unicode range.
Yeah.
And then the browser sees, oh, okay, I need this letter, so I need to load that font.
Okay.
But I think that only works in Chrome. We should check support tables. But so
we'll put a link in the description.
Yeah. A funny thing to mention, by the way, I mentioned when we load the web font for the second page load, that now you have to do that with JavaScript, and it will probably work from IE 8 upwards.
Okay.
But there are, I don't know exactly what the status is, but there is a font display CSS property that actually you can just set that by changing the property of the font display property, what the strategy is of showing font. Should you show no font? Should you show a fallback font? Should you replace it immediately or should you replace it later?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, but that's really not there yet.
No, it's a long way off.
I don't know. I mean, the browsers develop faster, and we have a lot of evergreen browsers. I mean, Chrome, Firefox, and even Microsoft Edge is a continually upgraded browser. So yeah.
Okay, so we might see it sooner.
Yeah.
Rather than later. Okay,
and the last and worst strategy is
the worst. Yeah. I love it. I love it when people intro a solution to something by "This is the worst."
Yeah. So don't do this. What you can do is load the web font very early on and block while it's being loaded.
So you block the rendering of your page.
Yeah, and you can do that by just embedding it in the CSS as a base64 encoded file.
Also, it's right there in the entire font file.
In the CSS, yeah. And the base 46 also adds in weight, so it gets more kilobytes. And the browser, if you put it in the CSS and put it up top, the browser will load and parse that before it
does anything else. Yeah, obviously.
So those are just some issues.
Is there ever a use case for that? Not that you know. Maybe if viewer know.
I guess there can be, but for instance, in an internet environment, maybe where you can always rely on fast connections. Or if you have a really tiny font where you just I can imagine you have a font that's just for displaying numbers. If you have a special way to do that, and that's really tiny font that you can embed it like that. That's I guess that's the only thing where that would really
be a good idea.
So.
Okay. Well, maybe if someone knows, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, DigiPaint and Asphalt Photo, for making this all possible. And we'll see you in the next one.